OpenAI has finally broken its silence after being sued by a number of different authors. All these authors allege that ChatGPT was illegally trained on their work without their permission. OpenAI is actually now looking to dismiss these lawsuits, and they say, quote, "The use of copyrighted materials by innovators in transformative ways does not violate copyright." Unlike, say, plagiarists who are seeking to directly profit off of distributing copyrighted materials, OpenAI is arguing that its goal is, quote, "to teach its models to derive the rules underlying human language." And this is going to help people do things like save time at work, make daily life easier, or simply entertain themselves by typing prompts into ChatGPT. Now, as part of this kind of public response to the lawsuits, OpenAI also cited a notable copyright case that involved Google Books. And they reminded the court that, quote, "While an author may register a copyright in her book, the statistical information pertaining to word frequencies, syntactic patterns, and thematic markers in that book are beyond the scope of copyright protection." So that's a lot of, like, a mouthful of a lot of legalese here, but really what OpenAI seems to be saying is, hey, you're concerned that we've broken all these copyright rules by training our models on your books, but actually the model is not being used to take revenue from you or profit off you in any way. It's essentially for the good of humanity and innovation. Now, Paul, can you kind of break down what's going on here? Do they have a case here at all?
I have no idea from a legal perspective. And like I've often said before, Mike and I are not attorneys. I took a business law class in college. That's about the extent. I thought about being a lawyer for like, I don't know, a month of college, but that's literally it. Other than the fact that I deal with IP attorneys all the time for my businesses and for our own IP needs. And we are authors. So we have a kind of a stake in this
Right.
from that perspective. Other than that, we are observers of this. And I will say that, like, I posted this on LinkedIn, and in the way we always do, of just like conversation starter. We're not taking a stand. I have no idea what they'll eventually say in the courts. I do think this goes to the Supreme Court eventually. Not maybe this case, but I think solving for this does eventually go to the highest courts. But what often happens is we get like really smart attorneys who come up in the comments and post
Mm,
stuff. So there was actually there was a pretty active comment section. I had 42 comments on this one on LinkedIn, and a number of them were attorneys. So I would say read their comments, read their perspective. But it seems that generally we just don't know. I think the key to this was that up till now, we made some assumptions that the Google Books case would certainly be a part of their argument. But this is the first time we're actually seeing them put in print
mm.
what their arguments are. And that in essence, they're saying, like, it's not plagiarism. We're not stealing anything. It's the statistics behind how words are formed. And
Mm.
this has been done before, and there's nothing we're doing that's different. And the laws basically need to catch up to innovation in essence. So certainly some people are going to say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's fair use, like case closed. And other people are going to say, no, that's not how this works. And it's going to have to be litigated. Like, I just don't know how this gets solved. And they were trying to throw out all but one of the charges, I think.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it was a violation of copyright. They're trying to get all the other stuff out of it. So it's just going to be really intriguing to follow along. But I just thought it was fascinating to hear them state clearly why they thought what they were doing was okay. And I will say the other thing that keeps coming to mind here is so many times major breakthroughs in technology are borderline illegal when they're done. So you
Mm.
think about how Uber basically like took over the taxi industry. Like, they were basically illegal when they were doing it. What Tesla has done with self-driving in many cases could probably be argued as like illegal, like
Right. Right.
from how they advertise full self-driving um, to actually using that technology on the roads. Like the technologists have to push the frontiers to get to where they're trying to go. And sometimes it's questionable whether it's legal or ethical to do it. And that's certainly what we're seeing here. Like, you could listen to arguments on both sides. And at the end of the day, the courts are going to decide whether what they're doing or have done was legal or not. and then we'll see. Either they pay fines or they have to license things or they have to destroy the models. I've said before, I don't see it coming to that. Like
Yeah.
I don't think the innovation stops, but I think there's going to be some bumps in the road for sure of some sort from a legal perspective.
So obviously you've mentioned these will need to be resolved in court, but I'm curious about what you think this means for people on the other end of this equation. I mean, obviously several authors, publishers, etc. are pretty unhappy. I have to imagine seeing a response like this makes them even unhappier.
I don't know. It didn't change my feelings on it, but I think we're too close to it to be really objective
Yeah.
in that we understand both sides and we're living this every day and we have a deep understanding of how the AI works. I think for the average author who maybe doesn't follow AI or is afraid of AI, it just reinforces their hatred for it and that
Yeah.
they're convicted that people are stealing it. So I sympathize with that side for sure. Like I don't have a strong like what is right and wrong here. I think that it probably was a violation of historical copyright law in some way. And I think there's a chance that what copyright law looks like moving forward evolves and it's no longer illegal. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the most likely outcome, but I'm not saying I think it should be one or the other. I'm saying I'm not educated enough in law to be a person to tell you what I think is right and wrong here. I
Right.
just think that's what the judges are for, and that's what the courts are for, is to solve for this. I think that the companies doing it are making ethical decisions right now about if what they're doing is in the gray area, do they really believe it's for the greater good, and they're going to push forward even if it ends up being that they break some laws along the way. Seems to be what's happening right now.